guys, welcome to Freaky Friday. My name is Shirley, and today I want to talk to you about the movie that I watched for Freaky Friday. So I watched a movie called 1922, written by Stephen King. We all know he has a warped mind, so what do you think this movie's going to be like, right? So it's an hour and 45 minutes. I don't know what the rating is. I couldn't find that, and I found it on Netflix. So I uploaded my video and I kept saying the word and I didn't like it, so I decided to redo it without the notes, guys. So I'm not sure how good this is going to be, but this is probably my fourth or fifth time as I sit down and try to do this because I keep getting phone calls, which stops the video, and then my texts, which distracts me. So let's just get into it, guys. So I chose the movie 1922, written by Stephen King. We all know Stephen King's Warp, so here's your first idea about this movie, guys. And it's an hour and 45 minutes long, and I found it on Netflix. So in 1922, there was a family of three. There was a dad, a wife, and their 14-year-old son. So it's Wilford, and they call him Wilf. That's the dad. The mom's name is Arlette, and the son, who is 14, his name is Henry. And they live out in Nebraska on 100 wheeled acres. Arlette's father passed away and gave her 100 acres on top of the 80 that they had already had, that they were already living on. So they were farming this land, and Wilf really likes it. Henry really likes it. Arlette does not like it. She wants to sell it and move to Omaha or St. Louis. And Wilf doesn't like that idea. He's very much against that idea. So they decided to think about it for a little bit. So Arlette asks Wilf if they can sell it, and he says, no, I don't want to sell it. And he goes, let me think about it and I'll get back with you. So he thinks about it a couple days, and then one day when Arlette was out there hanging clothes on the clothesline, Wilf comes up and says, I've decided we're not going to sell. And she says, really? Well, he decides that he wants to try to buy it from her and buy her off of it so he can have this property. Well, he doesn't have any money. And then she gets really nasty mean about it, saying that I'd rather have no money than wait for 10 years for you to pay it off. She wants all the money now. So he goes, okay. And he goes, let me think on it. So then he was talking to the boy, and the boy was like, okay, I'll go to Omaha. I'll go to St. Louis. I'll try the city life. And then the boy met the neighbor. He got sweet on the neighbor girl next door. Her name is Shannon. So one day they were, Wilf was looking for him, and he finds Shannon and Henry in the basement, fully dressed, but you just never know, right? So he goes down there and he says, Henry, oh, Shannon, I need to have a talk with Henry. Can you leave? So Shannon leaves, picks up her school books and goes. And then Henry and Wilf are talking. So that night at dinner, they sat down to have dinner, and he wasn't eating. And Arlette tells him, eat or starve. Well, that made Henry really upset. And Henry goes, face off. And Arlette says, what did you say? And Henry goes, face off. And she says, what does that mean? And then he says, just get out of here and let us be. So Arlette gets upset with that. Open hand smacks Henry right across the face at the dinner table. The dad didn't say nothing, and neither did Henry. Henry got up and left. Dad got up and left, and then Arlette got up and cleared the table. So the next day, they're talking, and Arlette says, well, I have an idea. And then how about we sell the property, we split it 50-50, and we get a divorce. And then Wilf goes, well, where's the boy go? And Arlette says, with me, of course. A 14-year-old boy needs his mom. So he says, let me think about it. So he waits a couple days, and they show him thinking and pondering, like looking out like this in all of his hundreds of acres of corn. And then the next thing that he's thinking about, a sky comes over, and it's not your normal blue sky, it's a blood red sky, guys. It's kind of like freaky. So then he goes and says, we're not going to sell, and he walks away. Well, then he decided, that conniving person that he is, that he had to do something to get this property and to keep it. So he starts talking to the boy and conniving the boy into helping him with his plan. He decided that he needed to take care of Arlette, and he has come to hate Arlette. The only way to get that property is to get rid of Arlette. So he tells that boy, you know, when your mom finds out about Shannon, she's not going to like it. She's not going to like it at all. So Arlette did find out about Shannon, and they had a plan. So they were talking, Arlette and Wilf was talking out on the porch one night, and Wilf tells Arlette, you know what, I've decided that we can sell and we can move, because Henry really wants to go, and I really want Henry to be happy. So let's sell and let's go. Well, she wanted to have a dress shop in Omaha or St. Louis. She wanted to be in the city, and she was all excited. And she's like, let's celebrate. So she starts drinking, and then she started talking bad stuff about Henry and Shannon. Like, well, you should know about what color her nipples are. You should know what to do when you're in the corn stalk. And Henry was getting upset about this. Well, she was just getting drunk, so Henry leaves, and she got so drunk that Wilf had to take her upstairs and put her to bed. So Henry and Wilf has already talked about ways of how to get rid of Arlette. So they decided tonight might be a good night. So Wilf takes Arlette upstairs because she's so drunk, and puts her on the bed, and she passes out. Well, Wilf wanted just to stab her and get it over with. But Henry didn't want that. Henry's like, can we do it a different way? And then Wilf says, no, that's going to hurt too much. You don't think stabbings are going to hurt, girl? Yeah, it's going to hurt that girl. Anyway, so Henry starts to suffocate his mom with a pillow. Well, the mom wakes up and she's fighting and she's being resistant. So he grabs the knife and he starts stabbing her. And she's still alive, and the dad's in the background watching. So finally, the dad grabs the knife, finishes Arlette off, and stabs her to death. So then they have to clean this mess up that they've created. So they take Arlette's body and they take it outside in the backyard, and there is a unworking well. Guys, I tried to take pictures for you, and I tried to screenshot them, and they were just black. So back in the old day, I don't know how big it was, but it was all made of a circle brick with a wrought iron and wood top. So they open up this. So the boy and the dad's carrying Arlette out, and the boy passes out, just falls down. So Wilf, the dad, ends up carrying her from the house the rest of the way into the by the well, right, the dried up well. So then he opens this up, and all you hear first is all these little squeaky little rats. You know how a mouse makes these little squeaky sounds, or a rat makes them. They're just nasty. And those tails on those rats, holy smokes, are this long, right? And you just see all these tails run. So he opens up the lid, picks up Arlette's body, whoof-da, throws her down there. Really? Throws her down there, looks at all the mice, right? They're gone. And then he shuts the lid, walks back to the boy. The boy's kind of coming to, so he gets up, and they're like, he tells the boy, go get some buckets of water. Do you want me to heat it up? Heat the water up? Nope. Cold is best, especially when you're cleaning up blood. So they're upstairs doing their duty, cleaning everything up. And then they take the mattress that's all bloody and saturated with blood, and they roll it up, and then they tie it up in an end so it looks like a big old, like just a rolled up something, you know. And I don't see what they did with it. I never did catch what they did with it. Next thing I see is them like patting out the mattress, you know, straightening it out. So I don't know what happened, what they did. If it was new, whatever they did. I don't know if they turned it over. I have no idea. I assumed he had to clean it or get a new one. So then Wilf starts going through the room and picking up stuff, and he grabs a suitcase. They've got two, so he grabs one, and he puts in a pair of jeans and a shirt and her jewelry and pictures of her mom and dad, puts it in the suitcase. And he goes outside to the well, opens up the well, looks down at her, and it's like she was nicely set in place. She wasn't like upside down or crooked or anything. She was just sitting nice like this. With the rat out of her mouth and the tail hanging out. So he looks at it, and then he's like, ah! And then he takes this suitcase and he throws it down at her, and he hits her in the head, and all those rats scurry around. Shuts the lid, goes back in the house, finishes up what he's doing, and then the next day acted like nothing happened. Couple days, so the boy the next day did tell his dad, you know, I don't want to go to school today, Dad. And then Wilf says, okay, go to school on Monday. So I guess the kid returned to school on Monday. A couple days later, there's an investigator there, and his name is Larson, I think it was. I forgot. It was an attorney at law, but it wasn't for Arlette. It was for the company that wanted to buy out Arlette. And he didn't believe, he was very skeptical of what Wilf was telling him. And he's like, oh, I would like a drink too. So he was thinking he was going to get offered an invite to come into the house and have a drink. But that's not what it was. So they go around to the back, and out of a big barrel, they grab a big old, like a ladle of whatever they were drinking. And he's like, no, I'll pass. So he didn't have any. So he wouldn't shake his hand. And he told them that Arlette's not there. She must have left. And then a couple days later, Sheriff James comes to check out the story of Arlette, of where she is. So they agreed to let the sheriff in the house. They said that he didn't want the attorney in the house. It just wasn't okay. So anyway, they go in the house and they look for Arlette, and they look in the clothes, and he tells a very believing story. The sheriff leaves. So now it's he's writing. So at the beginning of this movie, he is actually writing, Wilf is actually writing his own confession. So a little bit later, they decided that they need to plug that well up, so they don't know how to do it. So they go and take a cow from the barn, and the lid is already shut on there. So they walk this cow right up to this well, right? And he just stands. The weight of the cow is not breaking this well lid. And then it finally broke. The cow falls down the well, and the cow's moo, just crazy, making this loud, crazy noise. And then the boy goes, Dad, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And he goes, I'll be right back. So he goes and gets his shotgun and shoots and kills the cow. Well, that's the end of the cow and the noise. So now they have no choice but to do what Wilf really wanted to do, is fill that well. So they start digging up some dirt, and they fill that well up. So it's all dirted in now, right? So he's in there writing one time, and he's looking at the wall, and the wall just starts to crack, and he keeps looking at it. He goes back to doing his thing. Now this is that movie that goes from past to present, so it's going back and forth. So now we're in the past. So he gets a knock on the door, and who is it? It's Shannon's dad. Shannon's dad is there to tell him that his daughter is pregnant from Henry, and he is going to send his daughter off to a place in Omaha because she's 5 months pregnant, and she's going to have this baby, and she is going to give it up for adoption, but it's going to cost $300, and he knows that Wilf doesn't have $150 to pay for half of it, but he better damn well come up with the other, with $75 at least. So Wilf is kind of like, I don't have that type of money. I don't know what I'm going to do. So he says, okay. So he ransacks his own house, and he looks in the flour jar, finds a little money, looks in some hats, and he's looking everywhere, and he finds approximately $35, not the $75 that's needed. So he takes this the $35, and he decides that he's going to try to go to the bank and get a loan. So he goes to the bank to try to get a loan, and the loan officer goes, oh, no, you need to keep up with your neighbors, who is Shannon, right? You need to keep up with the neighbors, and maybe you need a new roof. Maybe you need to fix your plumbing problem, because he told him there was a plumbing problem, and there was. I just forgot to mention that. It happens a couple times throughout the movie when they're just sitting there, and then stuff is leaking through the boards of the house. So then, it's a little old shack that they live in. So he says, well, how about we lend you $750? Well, Wilf is like, I don't know. I gotta talk to the boy about this. I'll be back. And he leaves. But he tells them, well, you know, when I leave, everything here belongs to the boy. So I gotta talk to the boy about this. I'll be back. So he leaves and he goes out to his car. His car's gone. But there's a note there. And the note says, Dad, you know where I'm at. Don't come look for me, and don't call the cops. Leave me alone. If you call the cops, I'm going to tell them everything. So he goes home, he walks home, and he thinks about it, and he goes back to the bank. He gets that money. He ends up buying a car, and he never seeks out Henry. So then he heard from somebody else in town that there was a robbery, and it was 2 young kids. He knew right away who it was, but he wasn't for sure, but he had a good suspicion who it was. Shannon and Henry. So as they go about, they got a little bit of money from there. I want to say $23 or $25. I don't remember for sure. So then they go to do they had stole the dad's car, and they had wrecked it in a snowstorm. So they go to this house, and somebody comes out of the house and shoots Shannon in the stomach. She's still alive. So they go and they find an abandoned house, and they go in this abandoned house, and it's very, very cold. So Shannon lays on the cot, kind of right next to the fireplace, and he says, I'm going to go find wood. So Henry leaves her, goes out and finds woods, comes back, and she's dead. So he takes off his coat, puts the coat on Shannon, and then kills himself. So back to Wilf. Wilf gets this money, buys a car, and now he's at his house. So he decides, I need to stash this money. Where am I going to stash it? So he started stashing it, and then he decided that he was going to put it up on top of the frame of the door. There's like a little ledge. He was going to put it on there. So he puts his hand up there, and snap, he got bit by a rat. Pretty fleshy, meaty part right here. That rat just took off. It was pretty big. So it hurt really bad for him, and he didn't take care of it like he should have, and it got infected, and he needed to go to the hospital. So he goes to the hospital, and he but before he went to the hospital, he falls down the stairs, right? From when he was trying to stash this money. He falls down the stairs, and he looks up at the top of the stair. There's all these little rats hanging out at the stairway. Well, then something else was there, so he looked up, and there was Arlette. Yep, Arlette, full of blood, and rats all over her, blood all over her arms, and all over her denim dress that she was wearing. And she comes slowly walking down the stairs. And she gets in Wilf's face and tells him the story of what happened to Henry. Told him other stories that only a dead woman can tell. So Wilf has this bad hand from getting bit by the rats, and he goes to the hospital. So he wakes up, and they've amputated his hand till about like right here, right? So like right here, not just where he got bit, but probably because the infection was so bad, so about like right here. So he's got this little stubby arm now, and he's probably like this, you know. And the Sheriff James is the name, comes to see him and says, "So, want to let you know that there was a woman found out in this field, and her back teeth were missing." Was Arlette's back teeth missing? And Wolf just looks at him, shakes his head, and goes back like this. Doesn't say yes, doesn't say no, just shook his head back. And says, Sheriff James says, "Well, I want to tell you, we think that is Arlette. We think that somebody robbed her of her jewelry and her money and left her there for dead." And that's how the story ends, is everybody thinks that Arlette is dead. So he gets released from the hospital, and he goes home, and he goes over to his neighbors, and he tells his neighbor, the dad tells him, "You know, I want to sell you my property so you can just have it all." And he goes, "I don't want it," because Henry's dead now. So the funeral, let me tell you about the funeral for Henry. Nobody showed up but Wilf and Arlette. Now the funeral for Shannon, lots of people showed up because they were rich. They had a lot of money. They were wealthy back in the day. So he goes over to Shannon's dad and says, "You know, I want to sell you my property and you can have it all." He goes, "I'm done." So you could tell that Shannon's dad was pretty much drinking, and he had been through a lot. So then he says, "You know, I don't want your property." And he says, "As a matter of fact, I don't want you on my property." At the beginning of the year, we both had wives. I assume his wife died because nothing was ever said about it. And at the beginning of the year, we both had kids. So all they had left was homes. So it goes on later on to say that he did end up selling that house. Wilf ended up selling that house. And then the bank ended up taking Shannon's dad's house. It took him 2 years to drink all that money away. And that was the end of the story, guys. That was it. It doesn't say how he died. He was just confessing that he murdered his wife in that house and how he done it. There was nothing else. He didn't go to jail. Nothing happened. That's it. That is the movie. Did I like it? Not really. Would I watch it again? I only watched it so I could tell you the story, guys. That's the only reason why. And back in the day, I used to watch a lot of Stephen King. I used to read a whole bunch of Stephen King. I still have Stephen King's book. But I now, as I am older, way older, I like to read chick flicks and romances. My favorite author is Debbie McComber. And I also like a lot of other ones too, but she is my favorite one right now. I'm stuck in all of her series. So that's my Freaky Friday story, guys. If you liked it, please give me thumbs up. Comment down below if you've seen this movie, if you liked it. I seen it. I didn't care for it. It had no good ending. How many movies have you watched that were really good throughout the movie, but the ending sucked? That was one of these movies. So guys, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. And turn your notification bell on so that way when I upload, you won't miss it. And I'm uploading quite a bit lately. Guys, have a great day and a great weekend. We'll see you soon. Bye. Hey, and don't forget, Monday is Monday Movie Matinee. So I'm going to review a movie. I'm not sure what movie it'll be. Probably not a Halloween movie because I'm trying to save those for Fridays. But on Monday I will be doing a review. On Wednesday I'll be doing a makeup review. And on Friday, next Friday, I'll see you back here for Freaky Friday. Bye guys. Have a great weekend.